Hello, everyone. Welcome to the I Live Truth channel and podcast. My name's Earl, and I'm glad you're here. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and bookmark ilivetruth.com. Also, join the channel I Live Truth on Telegram. You can get there even if you don't have Telegram by going to the web address of T as in Tom, .me/I Live Truth. No spaces, none of that. Anyway, so I think today's going to be a really interesting one, and not just for people with children or people that are just trying to become biblical men or women, but this applies to everybody. And so a little basis for it. My daughter's 3.5, if people aren't following, but we have been limiting her time in front of a TV very strictly for her whole life, and it has lessened the strictness over the last 6 months, maybe a year, something like that. So we have allowed her to watch shows, TV shows. And we've even limited ourselves, my girlfriend and I, things that we watch. So, for instance, like one of the shows that my girlfriend liked watching was Orange is the New Black. We watched that. I liked watching Superstore. That was one of the recent ones that I had to stop watching because in one of the newer seasons, I can't remember which one, but they started bringing people in with masks, and I absolutely did not want to normalize covering your face to my children because it's unacceptable. It's not right. It's not normal. And so another topic of this is going to be normalization. So I didn't really understand what it meant, I didn't truly understand what it meant to normalize something, but I'm going to use me taking kratom, for example, and me drinking alcohol, beer specifically, as an example, because one time my girlfriend pointed out to me, by Evelyn seeing you drink so much, she's going to think that it's a good idea, or she used the word cool. I don't want her to think that it's cool to drink alcohol. And I became pretty defensive, especially because I already had a beer or something. And I said, she doesn't even know what the word cool means, and that was my argument, which was completely wrong. I acted inappropriately, and it took a while to admit that. So props to my girlfriend, and I'm proud of her for pointing that out. I wasn't at the time. I was upset. I was defensive. And that was when I was still drinking often. So by doing something that, so I can't drink beer every night and then tell my children, don't drink beer. It's bad because then, well, why do you drink it, Daddy? Oh, well, I use it to unwind, to relax, yada, yada, whatever. Insert defense mechanism, defense statement here, it took a while, I don't know, a few weeks, maybe a couple months before I even started to try and stop drinking, to lessen my drinking. But another one was me taking kratom. I still haven't been 100% clean. I've taken it the last few days, and once I'm just going to lower it slowly. I have taken it a few days in a row now, and I don't need to, but I'm going to use the rest of what I have and lower what I have to, I'm going to hopefully decrease my inability to sleep, basically, because I still have to function, I still have to go work, but whatever. I haven't been taking it in front of my children, and same with me using snus, tobacco, the pouches. One of the main reasons why I stopped vaping, well, besides my teeth, was that me vaping in front of my children was normalizing the behavior no matter what I said to them. They seen me do it. And your example is always more powerful than your words. Like, the way you behave is always what sets the foundation for how your children behave. And really, anybody in society, you know, like, you can't expect people to respect you if you can't respect yourself, you know, if you can't respect other people, you know, if you're making fun of somebody or talking down on somebody to one person, and then you're expecting that kind of respect, you know, like, you expect to be respected by that person that knows you're gossiping, it's just not going to work. You know, you have to behave how you want to be treated, and you have to set the example for your children of how to behave and how to, you know, carry yourself. So, anyway, yeah, like, when my children aren't looking, like, I make sure my children can't see me put something in my mouth when I use the tobacco pouch. And same with the kratom. I do not take it in front of my children anymore. I used to just leave my bags of kratom sitting out, you know, in sight. You could see them. And it's not, you know, like, the kids couldn't grab it or whatever. But I left it sitting there, you know, and I would measure my dose out and pour it in the cup and then mix it up and drink it in front of my children. And that is normalization. It's conditioning something into the reality of somebody. So, like, for instance, on my YouTube account, my I Live Truth one, I created a new account just for these videos. I don't ever watch things with this account. I don't comment. You know, I just use it to post videos and reply to comments to my stuff. But I'm not even subscribed to any channels. And when I open the YouTube app, there are multiple times I've seen, like, these really popular channels that cook food, you know, or fix cars or homestead, and it's women, pictures of women, like, wearing these super tight shorts, big old butts, like, right in my face, you know, and I didn't look up any of these things, and it's just being bam, right on my face, sex, right in front of me. And, like, we're doing this to the kids by allowing them to use these things. Now, it may be different if you were signed into a child's account. I know on YouTube, you can select kids, you know, as the person or the entity who is using that account. But it's normalizing to objectify women. That is what it is. Normalizing objectifying women, treating women like objects, not wanting to essentially form a marriage and treat this woman, this being, the other half of man, as something deserving. You know, in the Bible, it says, you know, I'm paraphrasing, I don't have verses memorized yet, but man will leave their mother and father, and him and his wife shall become one. You know, like, essentially, they become one. They form a new being of support, a relationship, a completely intertwined relationship. The man is supposed to look out for the woman, and the woman is supposed to support the man, according to biblical parables and verses. So, to objectify women, to normalize objectifying women, it's inverting society, you know, and that is not a good thing. So, normalization is, I mean, it can be good. Like, I'm trying to normalize morality and the ability to self-control. I'm trying to normalize that in my children and in my household. And granted, I'm not perfect, like, with the kratom, for instance, but that's my model. You know, I'm using Christ as my model, self-control and morality. So another thing, like, the reason that made me want to do this episode instead of another topic was, so like I said at the beginning of this, we have been limiting my daughter's television time, and we've been limiting ourselves with things that we watch. So, some of the shows that we've watched, my girlfriend and I, that are, well, before our son was alive, that our daughter watched with us, that we had playing in the background, were like Brady Bunch. My girlfriend did watch Three's Company, and that is very degrading to women, and I probably wouldn't want that to be played now that my daughter's understanding language a lot better and stuff like that. But so yeah, we watched Brady Bunch, we watched Mork and Mindy, Happy Days. And Happy Days, that was another questionable one. I might not make that decision now that my daughter's a little bit older, because it really promotes idolizing man. Like the Fonz, for instance. Everybody looks up to him. He is idolized. And he also treats women like objects. So that is not something that I would recommend for children. But Family Matters, that was decent at the beginning. Really old shows, pretty much. That was my baseline. I wanted to watch old shows that still had moral. Oh, Who's the Boss? That was a really, really good one. So yeah, now I'd recommend Brady Bunch and Who's the Boss and Mork and Mindy. That's just hilarious, silly. My daughter was always doing. For those who haven't seen it, look it up. It's like Robin Williams' first big gig, and it's hilarious. He's super young, and he's an alien from some planet in space, and it's just funny. It's really silly and childlike, and he has to learn things like emotions. So that could be a very valuable tool for helping teach children. Even with homeschooling, and I might revisit that. It might be a very valuable asset. So anyway, shows, if you got kids that the adults can watch and won't normalize unacceptable behavior or normalize immorality. Who's the Boss? That's really good. Brady Bunch is decent. Mork and Mindy is great. And anyway, so now that she's a little bit more, she wants to watch things. And the first show that we allowed her to watch that seemed really good, I mean, it's not horrible, is Curious George. There's a lot of seasons. A lot of the episodes are really good, especially the beginning ones. But she, we watched it with her, of course, but we didn't watch it before she watched it. So I started to realize that it's really promoting the mindset of accepting information, being receptive of statements. For instance, one of the main characters, and she's not in every episode, it's Dr. Wiseman, and it's a scientist. And there's the episode that we just seen today, today she watched an episode of Curious George, and it's been the first time in months. But it was an episode where they went to some snowy region. I don't know if it was Antarctica or the South Pole or the North Pole, whatever. But they were in search of a penguin, and George and the man in the yellow hat, which is just creepy to begin with, that a man living in the city has a monkey, no children, single, blah blah blah. Anyway, beside the point. But they're hunting a particular penguin, and they're communicating with Dr. Wiseman, the scientist, remotely with walkie-talkies, headsets, whatever. And she's explaining things. There's also another episode where they go to some other planet, like Mars or something, and the whole episode is pretty much just the scientist explaining things. There's an episode about dinosaurs too, where they're stating what they claim to be as facts. According to Wikipedia, it would be fact if you went from that as being authoritative source. But it teaches, it programs, it conditions children from a very young age, because it's designed for young children, to be receptive of statements. And I can see that, like, going from the idea that everybody watched that, let's say 100% of people watched that show as a child, and then watched a bunch of other shows that did the same thing throughout their whole life, and then the thing that happened a couple years ago that made headlines, that just showed up out of nowhere, happened, people were much more likely to be receptive of it. You get what I'm saying? Like, they didn't question, they didn't pick apart the argument and say, well, what about isolation? Has it ever been isolated? Has contagion ever been proven? They didn't look into these things, they just accepted it. Receptive. They were completely receptive. And a lot of that also comes from public school. You know, I have always, you know, I heard this one time, I don't know where I heard it, maybe the Crow 777 podcast, CRROW777 radio.com, great podcast. Or maybe it was Owen Benjamin, I don't know, unauthorized.tv, that's where you find him. But somebody said that, you know, they claim that public school makes you an employee. It trains you to be an employee. And that's 100% true. You know, it gets you conditioned to the Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 schedule. And also it programs you or conditions you to be receptive, to take orders, to follow rather than entrepreneurship. You know, it doesn't teach you to be a leader. It teaches you to follow authority. And from the recommendation of somebody, I seen it on some post on the Bertaria Times app.bertariatimes.com. Also find it on the Play Store and iOS Apple Store, Bertaria Times. I seen it on a post on there. People were asking what shows that they allow their kids to watch, and somebody said Little Bear, and a bunch of other people agreed and said, yeah, Little Bear's great. And it's a Canadian show, apparently, I think, if I remember correctly. And it's essentially like the reason why Little Bear is better for children than Curious George, well, at least if you want your children to be able to do independent thought and critical thinking and think for themselves and have imagination, is that it gets them to question things, or it doesn't just present things in a way that should be accepted. My daughter and I were outside today, and we were swinging. I was pushing her on the swing, and it started sprinkling. And she said, let's sing. And we were singing. It's raining, it's pouring, the man in the moon is snoring. He went to bed with a cold in his head, and he didn't wake up till morning. Or something like that. But in that episode where she got that song of Little Bear, it's raining, and the moon has a face on it. And they're talking about the moon. And Little Bear, the main character, is saying that, like, he's making statements about the moon that to people who can't imagine, aren't very imaginative, or who have been through public school, they would just think it's silly. And it is silly, you know? And he's saying that something along the lines of, like, the moon is happy, or, you know, the moon's sleeping right now. Like, it's portraying nature in an imaginative way. And doing that, having that as the baseline for a child's thinking, it gets them to not only think outside the box, but it also gets them to just question things on their own. You know, like the song, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, How I Wonder What You Are. Like, that song is about wonder. That song is about asking. You know, for anybody to say that they know without a doubt that for anybody to make a claim on anything, they need to have the proof. They need it, the onus is on those making the claims to prove them, and that's how it works in law. You know what I mean? Like, if you are trying to sue somebody for breaking into your house, you have to prove that they broke into your house. That is honorable in law. That's how it works. That's how it works in America, probably most countries, and that comes from the Bible. You know, the onus, the responsibility, the duty. That is what it means. ONUS. The onus is on those making the claims, and that's just how it works. And so anyway, the beauty of Little Bear is that I think there's 5 seasons, there's a movie, and every episode is about wonder and imagination. You know, if that was the only show that a child watched and then became of age to read things and digest information, you know, in an educated way, they would be able to pick apart things. They would be able to read a statement, read an alleged statement. Well, at least this is what I believe. I believe that they would be able to pick apart statements, and they would be able to say, okay, in this statement, let's look at it. Let's challenge this. Let's make up an idea, make up a theory on our own. Let's think about this. That has been programmed out of society and our children, and it's not a good thing. We do not want to raise order followers. Well, I know I don't. I don't know about everybody else in the world. It seems that a lot of people do want to raise order followers. Just shut up and listen, behave, follow the rules. And rules aren't bad. You know, rules are very good. Rules are necessary for a society. But if an unjust rule is implemented, or an unjust law, like, for instance, that you don't have sovereignty over your body, then it needs to be questioned. And it won't be questioned by people who are unable to question things. You know, this is fundamental for a society that remains moral, because inevitably, if people are becoming complacent and not doing things like figuring out what's happening legally or lawfully in their area, or and they're just sitting there watching porn, playing video games, then society will inevitably be taken over by corporations and stuff like that. Like, that's what's happening today. Corporations are selling immorality to people who want to be complacent, and that's it. You know, I'm gonna pause this real quick. Got to run into the store. All right, so yeah, like I was saying, society can't function, at least something that caters to people who are free, mostly. It can't function in a healthy way if our if the people are unable to object to unjust or immoral laws, and it just can't function, you know. So by normalizing immorality and also normalizing order following, blind order following, trust in entities and corporations that are ultimately out to profit on your backs. If the people are unable to overturn or to object nonsense things that are being said and carried out, then society can't function. So we as parents, my job as a parent, my goal as a parent is to nurture the question asking and wonder and imagination that is my goal as a parent, to nurture that in my children. And I think if this was the norm, that we wouldn't be in a society like we are today. And it's vital. You know, it's of utmost importance going forward here. And so, yeah, Little Bear teaches that. And if anybody is aware of any other shows for children that do the same thing, then please leave a comment below. And because I want to grow that, you know, that's the whole goal of me wanting to homeschool my children, is to keep that sense of wonder and that sense of, well, if you're making a claim, then where's the proof, you know? And to actually pick through these proofs that are presented, or these alleged proofs, and really dissect it, you know? So, yeah, with that, you know, that's it. That's really all I got to say about this. Like, we need to really step up, and we need to start thinking about these things and how to nurture the next generation, so we can have a future that we can be proud of, you know. And I know a lot of people out there are still scrolling mindlessly pretty much through social media, and just existing. And I think it's important for people to hear this, that we need to not just complain about the reality that we're in. We need to actively start taking steps to build a future that we want to see. You know, that's the whole motto of Bertaria Times. Well, that's meet old friends for the first time. But one of their principles, or one of their guideposts, is that not to just complain about the reality that exists now and do nothing. You know, most people, it seems, just complain about what's happening, yet they don't want to do anything except work at their job for 40 hours, use their brain power only there, and then come home and unwind, you know? And look where that's gotten us. It's not a good thing. So, yeah, if people start actively building towards a future that they want to see, you know, things will change. It's not the end of the world. It is the apocalypse, which is a revealing of information, but it's not the end. And this will be good overall, because a lot of people are starting to realize the things that I'm talking about here, you know, and that they're starting to realize that something's not right. Now, a lot of those seem to be trapped in non-action, but it's going over towards good now, you know. And I think some things might be worse, you know, for a time, but I think ultimately they'll be better. So another thing I wanted to talk about is community, you know. So we had our last son, Hugh, we had him at home through a midwife, and there was this get-together for all the people who used her as a midwife. And, you know, it was great. She was great at what she did. You know, there was actually a whole team of midwives. There was 3 of them that, you know, interacted with my girlfriend and I through this pregnancy, you know, and they had a get-together. Some of the parents that used her for the births of their children, and so they had a big cookout, and it turned out to only be 8 minutes from our house. And we went there, and there was, you know, probably, when we showed up, at least we were there a little bit late, but there was at least like 10 families there, you know. And we talked to a few people, you know, like 3, and like the man and the wife. And one of them was, they're trying to, you know, they have our midwife taking care of their meat rabbits, and they get eggs and milk from our midwife. And, they are moving towards taking care of themselves, to sustaining themselves. And the people who had the get-together, they had a big garden, and, they all brought out organic snacks. It was awesome. So I think it's important to say, to point out that no matter where you are, it's going to be okay if you have community. So start networking, start meeting up with people, start trying to secure things like supply chains locally. And if you know where your food comes from and you're not you don't have to be a farmer to produce all your food. You just have to know somebody that you can get it from. If, for instance, you can't get food from the grocery store for some reason, community is important, and it should be focused on. So get with the community. Yeah, so it's one of the most important things that you could focus on right now is building community and networking with people who are capable of providing you with something that you need to survive. Food, milk, whatever. And it's important to start forming relationships with these people now when other things are still freely available, like from stores. But with that, I'm going to end this almost to work. And so let's stop normalizing the inability to question things, question statements. And also, let's build, let's start forming communities when you can. So, that was really cool that we met up with those people that were so close to us, because I had really wanted to move to another place, like Alaska or something. And all these people gathered just 8 minutes away from my house, and that's awesome because that's what we need, And the one guy is like a diesel mechanic, and the other people had lots of land, so we could, maybe they can get some kind of cattle, and we can throw down on them. Who knows what's in store? But the seeds have been planted. We've met the people, and now we can start forming more relationships. So if you liked what I talked about here, or find it valuable, or think it could help somebody, then like, share, comment, subscribe, and consider making a donation at ilivetruth.com. There's a donation form. You can use your debit card, and the default is a recurring donation, and those would really help me secure or plant a foundation for doing farming things or pursuing something not as an employee. It would help greatly. I will be doing it anyway, even without the donations, but it would help move it along quicker. So really gives me a baseline also for knowing what the listeners are, where they're at. And so bookmark ilivetruth.com. Consider making a donation if you like the story, or just want to see where it goes, or you want to help out on this journey. So also on the website, ilivetruth.com, I generally post the audio there a day early compared to the video the next day on YouTube. So the donations also would help support the website, my servers, because I do it all myself. I host it. I pay for a server. So it's now, or the time is nil, guys. It's time to start creating the future that we want to see going forward. It's vital. And there's never been a better time than right now. And even if you're still living in a city or something, you can plant a garden, use planters, whatever. Start taking steps to build a future, and let's grow our children in a way that lets them discern reality rather than just be accepting of what somebody else says reality is. So hope everyone's having a good day, and hope you enjoyed this. See you later.